Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Lewis versus Dos Santos, as I've already predicted the main card fights in my last video. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card and our first fight on the prelim. So in our first fight, we have in the lightweight division, Alex White versus Dan Moret. So looking at this fight, you got Dan Moret, who is a pretty well-rounded fighter, but I say his striking is not really up to par with UFC standards, in my opinion. But he has solid grappling, so kind of one-dimensional, but not really. Grappling is going to definitely be his focus in this fight. And you got Alex White, who's a veteran of the 145 division and also the 155 division now. Solid striking, decent grappling as well. A decent, solid, well-rounded fighter. But how these people match up, I think, with Alex White, you look at his last two losses. He lost to Jim Miller in a pretty bad fashion, but Jim Miller is a legend. He lost to, I'm forgetting his name right now, but I think Cross, yeah, it's Cross or something like that. James Cross, who's looking very good at welterweight, and that was a very close fight. And he had Cross hurt a lot of times on the feet. And that's a real good, good losing effort right there, especially when you see what Cross is doing up in the weight class. So I look at Moret as a guy who really, he has experience, but not at this level. And Alex White has a boatload of experience at this level and has fought a lot of the best competition he could face in the UFC and has done pretty well, in my opinion. Got some good wins and showed a well-rounded skill set. But as far, like I said, as far as these two people match up, I see Moret really been kind of one-dimensional in a way, and Alex White having been more well-rounded and having more experience at this level and faring pretty well. And then actually his last win was over a fighter who's kind of like Dan Moret, who's striking not really up to par with UFC standards, but has solid grappling, and he was able to keep the fight where he needed to keep it and pretty much do a lot of damage and get him out of there. I think with like second round via TKO or something like that. And this fight, I feel like Alex White will be able to handle his own with Moret's grappling and mostly keep it on the feet where he wants it and keep it on the feet. And I see him getting him out of there in the first round because White has been really, when he came up from 145 to 155, his strength and conditioning went up. You started seeing him have more muscles, be stronger, have more power. And I think that's going to show in this fight just as it did in his last win. I feel like he'll be keeping on the feet, land some big, heavy shots, and take Moret out of there. And I say via in the first round. So in this fight, I have Alex White via first round TKO. Now on to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Alex Morono versus Zach Ottow. So you got two guys who kind of like the lower bottom feeders of this division. They can't really ever get to the top of the division or the middle of the division. Kind of stay, at the gateway, the first, the very entrance level, kind of around there. Either people falling down or just entering. They kind of stay in that kind of level, and they've been in the UFC for a good minute now, but up and down records as far as their UFC careers go. Zach Ottow is a solid, well-rounded fighter. Morono's a well-rounded fighter. With Morono, he does have a technical side to him. He's very technical. He talks very smart, but sometimes you forget that because he gets in these fights, he starts swinging very wildly and this thing that he doesn't really have the best technique. But in his last fight against Keenan Song, he showed some solid technique, was using circling very well, mixing his strikes up very well, not just winging shots. And he fought a very, interesting prospect in Keenan Song and was able to really outwork him and outstrike him, despite Keenan Song supposed to be the more technical striker going into that fight. So that really shows you that when Alex Morono wants to fight technical, he can fight technical, and he's very skilled at it. And he also has a solid black belt degree. I mean, like a solid black belt, not just no paper black belt that don't mean nothing. He's a solid black belt as well. And I feel like in this fight, Zach Ottow, he doesn't really have the highest rate of striking. He kind of likes to sit on the outside, pick his strikes, and maybe mixing takedowns. He's not a high rate. He doesn't have a lot of power, or at least not all the time. It's not like he's that knockout type of dude. He's more of a kind of a point fighting type of guy. And I don't think he really had the best defense to have that type of style, especially at this level. And I feel Morono, I think 2-1 as far as their striking output. I think Morono's just about 2-1 over him. And I feel like his volume of strikes is going to really win the fight for him. I know Zach Ottow can fight, his slow pace or low output type of fights, but that won't really work against Morono, especially Morono. The chooses to fight technical and don't just give his chin out there. And I don't think he has to worry about that too much because Ottow really doesn't present the most power consistently in this fight. He does have some pop at times, but it's not consistent. And then with Morono's output, I think that's going to really favor him in this fight, as well as Zach Ottow trying to go for grappling exchanges, maybe to score some points. It's not going to have the most success with that either because Morono's grappling is such a high level. I think Morono might actually have, I'm not going to say kind of, I think Morono does have better grappling than Ottow. I think it will show in this fight. If Zach Ottow tries to take it to the ground, I think Morono will show him that he's a more skilled and more competent grappler as far as this fight goes. But really in this fight, this thing's more so coming down to the pace of Morono than anything. The high pace of Morono versus the low output of Ottow. and he's just going to outwork him to a decision in this fight. So in this fight, I have Alex Morono via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, Louis Smolka versus Matt Schnell. So looking at this fight, you got Matt Schnell. I don't know, his name making me kind of stutter a bit. Let me see, Matt Schnell. I'm just going to call him Matt. But whatever case, we got what Matt in this fight is, he has actually got some pretty slick boxing, some pretty slick striking, a questionable chin because he's been looking good in some fights, then he get caught by the slightest thing and get knocked out. So he had some pretty slick striking. He saw when he went up to the 135. Well, he's at 135 still. He was a 125 when he came to the UFC, went up to 135 just because it was on short notice, came back to 125, 135. So he's been up and down. But I guess the flyweight division, they don't know if it's going to leave or stay, so he's staying at 135. And Louis Smolka is also a 125 who's going up to 135 because, like, again, that flyweight division is questionable if it's staying around. But with this fight, like, I feel like Matt Schnell is a slicker striker, slicker boxer, and he can have advantages there. But with Louis Smolka, that really doesn't matter too much. But yeah, that really doesn't matter too much for Louis Smolka. He has 4 fights where he's beginning battered on the feet, but he's tough, he's durable, and he has that grappling pressure. He'll keep going after takedown, trying to set up grappling exchanges, and he does very well in those exchanges. I think he's the significantly better grappler in this fight, and I think he can handle his own with Matt Schnell on the feet, but I think more so he's going to have to kind of, like in some of his typical fashion type of fights, he's going to have to weather the storm a bit, kind of get Matt Schnell's timing down and set up these takedowns, initiate these grappling exchanges, and then just be like a rug on him and like this weigh on him, drain him, try to like pass his guard and transition, just wear on him. I'm trying to think of a fight like the Nugent fight. I'm not going to say it's the same Nugent because Nugent packs way more power. Matt Schnell's really not a power puncher, but it's kind of be similar that he's going to try to drain him a bit, weigh on him, keep landing strikes on him and wear him down to get that submission and act like pretty much like a snake in a way. Just take him down, work on him, keep going for takedowns if it's not successful, and just weigh on him until eventually he's drained enough that you could sink in the choke and get that finish. And I think it's going to happen late in the second round. So in this fight, I got Louis Smolka via second round submission. Now on to our next fight we have in the heavyweight division, Maurice Greene versus Jeff Hughes. So these two fought, I think, in LFA, matter of fact, it was just 2018, so it wasn't even that long ago. And I don't think much really changes, but as far as this fight, I just feel like with these two, I don't think if Maurice Greene can't beat Jeff Hughes, he doesn't really belong in the UFC. I don't think Jeff Hughes really belongs in the UFC. Not saying that as a real insult, but looking at Jeff Hughes' skills, you look at him, he might not be what I'm going to say he looks like, but that's what he fights like, and that's what it looks like to me. He looks like a barroom brawler who was given a bit of MMA training. He doesn't really have really no finesse to his style of fighting, kind of just gritty and grindy, be in your face, not the best takedown, not the best technique for his wrestling or striking, doesn't really put them, plan on his punches and this kind of swing stuff. It's really kind of sloppy, like he is a sloppy Joe type of fighter. And Maurice Greene's supposed to be a kickboxer and all this stuff, but I think more so with the first fight, which is that it was a 5-round fight, and Jeff Hughes just kind of grinded and took away the energy of Greene, standing in his face and make it a very uncomfortable type of fight. And that Maurice Greene wasn't ready for, especially in a 5-round fight. And really a lot of his pop got drained over the fight, or maybe he fought with a mindset that I have to conserve myself. But in a 3-round fight, especially with some time in between these fights, especially coming off the Ultimate Fighter, I think Maurice Greene had some time to improve. And this being a rematch, he's going to be able to fix what he didn't have, fix the areas that needed to be fixed or need improvement in coming into this rematch with Jeff Hughes. And if he can't beat him, I'm just gonna say in this fight, I'm not saying just because how they match. I'm saying like what he's gonna need to beat. I'm just gonna lean to this more so really just a long ball prediction I'm trying to say in this fight that Maurice Greene's going to need to improve, and I'm feeling like he's going to do that, make them necessary changes to beat Jeff Hughes, maintaining that distance, not let him get in that smother fest against the cage and just swinging punches and put his head in your chest and just swinging these sloppy punches and trying to lay on you and stuff like that. I feel like he's going to be able to keep distance, slap hard, kicks to his body, knees, elbows, and really pick Jeff Hughes apart with being a more technical fighter that he needs to be at this level of UFC, where I don't feel Jeff Hughes is really at right now. I still think it's going to be a pretty wild fight, but I think Maurice Greene's going to be able to find that space he needs to be effective, pick apart Jeff Hughes coming in with his sloppy entries into striking exchanges and initiating grappling exchanges, and just pick him apart with straights, knees, body kicks, elbows, and all the stuff that Jeff Hughes walks right into. And I feel he's going to get that stoppage, and I'm going to say it's going to happen in the second round. So in this fight, I got Maurice Greene via second round TKO. Now on to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Grant Dawson versus Julian Erosa. So in this fight, I feel like Grant Dawson is not the most well-rounded fighter, and Julian Erosa is a much more well-rounded fighter between these two. But Julian Erosa does have his tendencies in this fight. He has solid striking, but he always kind of goes straight back, leans his chin back, and he gets knocked out. Like, well, most of his losses come from that way because he's going straight back, chin up, and he gets knocked out. But he has solid striking, pretty respectable grappling, pretty slick on the feet. Grant Dawson, not the best striking, definitely not the best power. But what he does do, he's very aggressive with those takedowns. He'll go for those takedowns, and then his ground and pound is solid. It's like inlet, like constant. He's just that pace fighter. Once he gets you down, he's just going to keep working on you, and eventually break you down with his pace and his pressure on the ground. And with Julian Erosa going back, tendency to go straight back, that allows Grant Dawson to get secure, easier takedowns. You're going back, and your back is basically touching the cage, especially if somebody's going to be pressuring you the way Grant Dawson is. Then that's going to be an easy takedown for him. Your hip's going to hit the cage. He's going to be able to get a double leg. He's going to be able to pull off a single leg. That's really going to play into his favor with Julian Erosa's style and his tendencies always kind of going backwards and back into the cage. He might be slicking this and that, but that tendency is going to allow Grant Dawson to have success, get those takedowns, and work him on the ground. Only going to be like no dominant victory, but just going to be one of those kind of fights where you're looking at questioning Erosa's coaching and maybe his mindset in the fight. Like, why do you keep going back and keep getting taken down? Come on, man, you got to start circling, start doing this, start doing that, because you're going to lose this fight if you don't do this. And he's like, be scratching his head at what he's doing. I think it's going to be one of those type of fights. Be probably pretty close, but Grant Dawson getting a takedown, having the control is going to allow him to win one of these close but kind of questionable type of fights where you're just questioning, like, and scratching your head, looking at Erosa and looking at his performance, and like, you could have did this or did that. But pretty close fight. But the tendencies of Erosa going straight back against an aggressive guy who wants to take you down and work on you in that pace, and it's going to wear him down. And it's going to take the effectiveness, like, take the pop off his punch. Like, especially when you're getting laid on and wrestle, you don't really have the same kick to your punches or the kick to your kicks, that extra pop, and to really be effective. Like, you can land some shots, but it's not going to be the same effectiveness if you were standing up the whole fight. But basically what I'm saying, Grant Dawson's going to win the decision just by grappling, getting these takedowns and being on top more. So in this fight, I got Grant Dawson via decision. Now on to our co-prelim headliner we have in the women's bantamweight division, Marion Reneau versus Yana Kunitskaya. So Kunitskaya, I'm not really too impressed by her in any way. She looked all right in her fight against Lena Landsberg, a lot of takedowns, controlled the top. It looked pretty decent, but I don't really know how good Lena Landsberg is. She's like an all right fighter, but she really that great of a fighter. Then against Cyber, she got destroyed and showed me nothing. Like, I really didn't see too much from Kunitskaya. She has her moments, she don't have her moments, but never really been too impressed by her. And as far as Mario Reneau, I feel like Mario Reneau has some solid boxing. She's pretty slick with her boxing, has some pretty good punching, some pretty good setups to her striking. She's real slick with her boxing. Then her jiu-jitsu is pretty solid as well. Didn't really look that good against Kat Zagano in the last fight. She got taken down and wasn't really able to do nothing. That's kind of a worry in this fight, that Kunitskaya is going to take her down and Reneau's going to be too comfortable laying on her back. But I think Kat Zagano's top pressure is just much more heavier than Kunitskaya. Kat Zagano was surprisingly very strong and probably one of the strongest female fighters out there right now. So there's a different element with her grappling than Kunitskaya's grappling. Kunitskaya presents way too many pockets, and that's what allow, like, pockets and spaces will allow Reneau to set up submission attempts. And she was close to setting submission attempts against Zagano at least once or twice in that fight, whereas against Kunitskaya, those might be sealed in submissions against Kunitskaya. And I feel like Reneau's not going to spend as much time on her back against Kunitskaya. Also, Kunitskaya is not the level of wrestler that Zagano is. So I feel on the feet, Reneau is a much better striker and will be able to tag her up on the feet. Then if it goes to the ground, I feel like Reneau will be able to go attack with submissions or get reversals and not spend too much time on her back, especially given her last fight where she lost, pretty much spending her time on the back. She's going to be looking to get up more if she's spending too much time on her back, if she can't get that submission. Then on the feet, I feel like she has a wide advantage. And I just feel like Reneau is just overall the much better fighter in my opinion. Even despite her age, I feel like she's the much better fighter. And I feel like she's going to just be a little bit better everywhere and a little bit more focused for much better competition and been in here with much better competition, or at least more often, because Kunitskaya was in there with Cyber, but other than that, Reneau has been in there with the much better fighters more times than Kunitskaya has, and I feel that's going to be a big factor in this fight. So, but I'm going to say it's going to go down to this. I don't think she'll get no finish or just run through her. Pretty competitive fight, but Reneau been just that much better and just that much more experience. So in this fight, I got Marion Reneau via decision. Now on to our prelim headliner we have in the welterweight division, Tony Martin versus Sergio Moraes. So you got Sergio Moraes, who's pretty much one-dimensional. He does have that knockout power, but his striking is really here out there. He just swings wild punches. And if they land, they can be very effective. It's really this flaily, wild punches. But his jiu-jitsu is top-notch. He can get you down there. He can submit you in like a snap of the finger. His jiu-jitsu is just that solid. Several-time world champion of Brazilian jiu-jitsu at the highest level. So a very scary dude. Then you got Tony Martin, who's looking like a beast coming up from the lightweight division to welterweight. That speed is serving well. He maybe not having that big a weight cut anymore, and it's really serving well. His strike is coming along well. He's just looking like a beast at this weight class. And as far as how I feel this fight will go, I feel like if Sergio Moraes can't get a takedown early and have success with that takedown, and then like has difficulty getting that takedown, I feel like this fight is just going to go downhill for him very quickly. It really all factors in about how he can get that, whether or not he gets that takedown early. Because once if he struggles with that takedown or doesn't get it, then it's really going to be Martin picking him apart on the feet. This is the much more technical, clean fighter. And over these past 3 wins, you saw that Tony Martin was able to pick apart fighters like that either got sloppy or just too predictable, and it's really put him out and not just beat him on the decision, but finishing them. Like they started getting too sloppy, started counting them, started rocking them, and really put him in a box, kind of like they limited options because the sloppy stuff they were doing wasn't working. The takedowns they were going for, they weren't landing takedowns. I feel that could happen in this fight as well. With Tony Martin's skill set and his well-roundedness, I feel like also coming up from the lightweight division to the welterweight division, the speed is there. It's going to be harder to set up a takedown on a smaller fighter because they're used to, faster fighters, faster timing, slightly more technical fighters at a lower weight class. Those different things that you had to deal with at a lighter weight class that you don't have to deal with coming up. Maybe the strength, but I feel like Martin put on the strength pretty well. He's put on that muscle. Will be able to defend the takedown, be able to get the timing on it very well, and pick Moraes apart on the feet. But like I said, Moraes can't get that takedown. He's going to be very dangerous and will have a lot of success on the ground and might even be able to submit Martin very quickly. But I feel like that's not going to be the case. He's going to struggle and most likely not get that takedown and then get desperate. And then when he gets desperate and starts swinging wild punches, I feel that Martin's just going to pick him apart on the feet and just tag him up and make him pay for every wild, swinging, swelling punch. I say swelling, flailing type of punch. And I feel like Moraes is a tough dude, and he won't just go out just from 1 or 2 big shots. I feel like it's going to be a wear down effect. He's going to have to just tag him up and really just wear him down over time. Just keep landing big shots until Moraes goes out or gets the TKO or the ref stops the fight. And I feel like that's going to happen probably in the 3rd round, just from Moraes being so tough and being unpredictable. You can't just run through Moraes because even though he's throwing these flelly punches, he's very successful with them. He's got some finishes off. And so I feel like Martin will respect those punches and then that power and also the takedown. So it's going to have to take an effect where he's going to just not go just try to run through them, but just touch them. Just keep touching them and wearing on them with these strikes and make him feel that strike, make him feel that pressure. That forward pressure and those strikes. Never really give him a time to breathe too much with his striking, but not really going overkill and risking giving up that takedown or getting caught with a big shot. And then eventually, as he wears down Moraes and his hands get lower and lower, then those big shots to end up, those big finishing shots will present himself. And I can see him landing that big shot or that combination to finish Sergio Moraes in the 3rd round. So in this fight, I got Tony Martin via 3rd round TKO. And that concludes my predictions for the prelims of UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Lewis versus Dos Santos. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.